the Human Rights Commission, I discovered, is there to support government policy. And just a couple of years ago, I met someone from the Australian League of Rights. They were the body that promoted human rights in Australia from the 1950s and 60s onwards. And you can even Google them. They've still got their website, and a lot of their speakers were revealing what was happening through the 90s of how we were going to end up in this position. That was, they were talking about it. And and he said, yes, the Human Rights Commission was only set up in around, I think, the early 90s, and that was purposely to support government policy when they wanted to violate human rights, because what they've done to the public is tell them that, having a, which is a drug, is for the community good. And by saying that, they've reversed the principle of informed consent to medications without coercion, manipulation, and pressure. So they've reversed a medical ethic, and it's hard even for lawyers to fight that one if you don't have the history of how we controlled infectious diseases. And that was what was so critical through COVID. All the courts were sewn up. Oh, it's for the community good, and they knew that any magistrate that didn't support the government policy, they knew they'd be given a criminal offence and probably end up in jail. That's literally the threat that was underneath. And there was one person, Mark, who stood up in the Fair Work Commission doing the role that she was meant to do as a Fair Work Commissioner, and that was Deputy Commissioner Lyndall Dean. And she actually stood up and was fighting against the discrimination in the workplace for having to reveal your status, even though it was against medical privacy. That's all the laws we've got. And, she stood up to do a job, and so Scott Morrison stood her down. The Parliament can stand them down. He couldn't actually sack her, apparently. He had to stand her down, and then he sent her for re-education. Re-education. I've seen that word so many times in the scientific literature about the whooping cough. When they brought in the new ATP, doctors were re-educated to think to not link it to the brain damage that was being caused by the whole cell, which was causally linked in a 10-year study from 1980 to 1990. All of it's there, Mark. It's the wording, re-education, and so she couldn't go back to work until she was re-educated.